program with Great Plains Tribal Leaders Health Board. Very proud to be here with you today with our community health webinar series. We've got a great show for you today. This is all about just bringing Indigenous healing traditions into modern day self-care, which is super exciting. It's a great topic, and this is just where we're living right now today. So it's very pertinent to everybody. Our presenters today, we have Shilo and Shawna Clifford, and they are the founders of Native Botanical. And this is a wellness company that celebrates the Lakota way of life with remedies and products that combine traditional Indigenous with modern self-care. Like I said, it's very exciting. And we're also going to have a little presentation by Warfield Moose Jr. So we're very excited about that. And with that, I'll hand it over to you, Shilo and Shawna.
Hello, sure. Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for organizing and sponsoring these events. Really look forward to today, and we're really happy and honored to be here. My name is Shilo Clifford, and we have a great presentation today. We also joined by our brother and our mentor, Warfield Moose, and yeah, we got some great slides today and a presentation to share our story and kind of our journey along how Native Botanicals began and how what we're doing today in this day. Do you have anything to add, Shawna?
I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Sean and Shannon and everybody at Great Plains Tribal Leadership. Thank you for allowing us this opportunity to speak with everyone, and thank you everybody for listening. We're happy to be here.
Yes, and at this time, we want to send it over to Warfield to do our opening prayer, and then he's going to speak about the early history of Native Botanicals and kind of how we all started and our journey, and then we'll go from there. So this time I'd like to ask my brother Warfield to say our prayer for us.
Ohechi daku yu chuk obi na daku yu prena daku odon ki hina tukashla yuashtikte na yuakhakte chaun na hoiwa. This evening or this afternoon, I wanted to say greetings to all relations and relatives as we venture into a new day again. I'm grateful to the Creator, grateful to all of you who are able to witness and to be able to be part of this great day, the great time of healing, but also knowledge and receiving wisdom. Today, my prayer that I'm going to share with you is about the medicines, and that my thought of it is every day is that we receive some form of knowledge and wisdom so that we, our children, grandchildren, future generations will have this in their mind, instilled in their heart, and so that they'll remember from generations to generations that. So I'll say this prayer and then share a song with you. Chungashla wakant kankapetu ilhia wopila kinicha bigithan. Kukaya ayatir chahon taku and taku chachimka wableze woke aunicharapi. Lampetu ayushki okiktapi na bewi wankasan uki hechi wocheki onicharapi. Ithan kukaya wakanja na wakana dona kaiche. Wano kuja tiktak papi nishogina ishtamni hipi. Taku ota ikamni pincheche katkashla betu yohia wash ake na woke we chako bikta chong hui chiche. On beto yo here da ko ta khachi na da ko ta chamo na ina walake. O da ko chiche king te kina khokashla. Ina mir dagni stoash, ni dagni matoshni kha the ho ake to te twa oglake ni stokte hitchloan ni shwacheki ta oma khachi. Na ta he o wacho che ho hecham. Cholam betu ho okuje tikta ho washi chumpi na ho ina woki api ina ko oshu o chaki na woki o jiwi chako bikte chon huichichi. Wan betu lute na betu ashte o yako bikte chon huichichi. Ya pilama pelot hubashla pilama pelot mitake wasi. Today, I'm grateful again as we talk about our daily, as a bit dose of feeding the spirit. In our daily life, we feed the spirit. If I ask you today, if I say, what have you done today besides waking up and eating and going to work? Have you fed your spirit, and have you fed the spirits? In our teachings, they talk about when we're young, when we're young people, they were always talked about before any meal or any food that we consume, that we offer a prayer to the Creator, and that we ask that whenever we do. When we do say a prayer, that we put the food out and to ask the ancestors to maybe part of offering, so that future generations won't go hungry, or that we don't have to worry about them because of where or how we are going in this new world. So years ago, that's how we were taught. Not just praying before we ate, but most of all, to feed the spirit. And so when I was a young man, I used to put food up, and I was always wondering if the actual ancestors would eat the food. And one day I put out a piece of meat and things that we would eat, and maybe a piece of bread and all that. And lo and behold, the next day, or that evening when I went to go check on it, it disappeared. And I was so proud of myself. I was proud of my ways and proud of our teachings. And so one day there was this non-native. He came to see us. He was kind of concerned about eating right, and he brought lettuce and salads and all kinds of green stuff, soups. And of course, my grandma and grandparents, my grandpa were looking at that. I was wondering what that, or what they were feeding us. And so they told me, he said, hey, he said, you feed the spirits every day, don't you? So I said, yeah. He said, well, feed them this. Maybe the spirits, he said, they'll like this. So I got ready and I went outside and gave them a whole plate of greens. I even gave them my greens because I didn't understand or know about it at that time. And then whenever I put it out there, I said a prayer, and I said sorry to the ancestors. I said, I'm sure that I said there's plenty of grass out here, but I'm giving you some grass out here. I said, and I apologized and sang a song, and I left it out there. And here the next day, I went out there and here it was still there. And I thought, well, maybe the spirits are not vegetarians, are the ancestors, so I always thought about that. And in today's world, I thought, it's beyond our comprehension of what or how the offerings take place, if the spirits or the ancestors or maybe an animal will take your offering. But that day, it was a good lesson for all of us, because like I said, it was whatever that we can give, whatever we can offer, we feed the spirit. Today, I'm really grateful for my brother and my sister-in-law who have been following this red road, as they call it, or this path, the spiritual path, ever since he was 11 years old. And he lived with the medicines, and he worked with the medicines. In my lifetime, I always shared a story that I sang for and helped with 11 medicine men in my lifetime. And these medicine men, most of them are gone now. About 90% of them are gone now. And they were old at the time. And some of them died of old age. Some of them died of sicknesses, and some even died of alcohol. And they left a mark on me. At first it was a sadness, but realizing that they always looked at medicine as a priority, because they said that this is what life is all going to be in the future. So that we got to go back to medicines, or else if we use the modern medicine, he said, that medicine is going to take the good and the bad out of our body. And he said, well, it'll have no use for us. And so I was sad, and I didn't understand at the time, but realizing that you're talking about the plants and the roots and trees and everything that was related to our way of life, that everything was a living being, that everything had a spirit within. One medicine man talked about that. He said, we come from the same root, but with different trees. When you think about that, we're all rooted, we're seated in this world, but rooted into our ways, and how we grew, and how we were raised, and how we grew, and how we were taken care of, depend on our parents and grandparents showing us that this is the way that you have to live, or this is the way you're going to, this is your path. And so we never thought about, or never questioned them, because that was part of it. Today, I think about my grandmother. One of the products that my brother, one of the products that he had, that he's doing right now, is called liquid smudge. And some people go at that, and they look at that as a new age thing, or that, we didn't do that a long time ago. But if you look back in the past, our stories, I talked about these medicines at one time, and there was a plant that my grandmother showed us that whenever you pick it a certain time, and then you hang it upside down, and put it in a sweat lodge, and once the steam hits the plant, he said it starts making the burst of the medicine, the smell of it, and even when it it perspires. Somehow the medicine, when it gets wet, the medicine comes out of it, and so my grandmother and all these old people used to take this and use it as a medicine when they couldn't breathe, or they call it they can't breathe, or difficult to breathe medicine, or so they had a description of it. And so when I thought about all that, I think about my grandmother, and she passed on years ago, but I remember her getting sick at one time, and she would never come visit us. She would never come to our house. And we lived in a housing area, but she lived in an old little cabin with a wood stove, and she would admit that she would never come see us. And I was wondering if it was something going on. But we lived in a kind of way of traditional way of thinking, because at that time my grandmother never talked to my father. And that's the Lakota way, that you never talk to your son-in-law, vice versa. Never, the father-in-law never talked to the daughter-in-law. So they never talked to each other in that way. And so my father asked, he said, how come your grandma don't come in? He had to talk to my mom, and my mom had to talk to my grandma. My grandma had to talk to my mom to talk to my dad. And it was just like, I just thought this is a weird way of communicating, but realizing that they were talking, but not directly. And my grandmother said, "La unia mashiche," said, I'm really having difficult breathing when I go into your house. He said, I don't like air conditioning. He said, it's really hard on my lungs. And he said, I'm going to go home and visit. They said, so I'm going to sage myself off. And he said, that's the only way I can breathe better. And even that, as time went on, she was having a hard time breathing. And as she went on, realizing that she was getting sick and she was in pain, and we took her to the hospital and realizing that she had lung cancer. So her lungs were detecting, she was already detecting her sickness, and whether it was through the air conditioning, but the smoke never bothered her. And then as time went on, as she was getting sick, the smoke was definitely bothering her. And she told me, she said, I wish that I can find something, some sage or something. I love the smell of sage. She said, but I wish I could find it where I don't have to see it burning. I just love the smell of it. And I shared that story with my brother, my sister-in-law, and I heard that it came about, the story about the plants, and kind of that went that way. And I realized that we're living in a world where our elders or even children, asthmatic, they can't handle the smoke. And so we're actually, accommodating people that are going through those different sicknesses or allergies. And so when you think about it, it has nothing to do with new age or old age or anything. It's just that it's part of life that we're trying to help. My brother and my sister-in-law are trying to help with Native Botanicals. And today's world, I don't see it as nothing to do with exploiting, because it's already out there. The information is out there. All the things that our people are doing is out there. But what makes Native Botanicals unique is because of who they are and how they live their life. Never seen my brother with drink alcohol or do drugs and living that life. And I haven't done that myself either. I never did alcohol and drugs in my life. And I'm not bragging, or I'm not saying that I'm better to anyone, or, I don't, I'm not a goody two shoes. I'm just saying that it brings to light that when you handle medicines and when you take care of these medicines, it's going to take care of you. So this is what I just wanted to share with you, that for once, a Lakota company, a Lakota people, members of the tribe are actually doing something in part of honoring the plants to regrow, return, put the seeds down, return the plants, return everything back to Mother Earth so that we can enjoy it, whether it's the cedar trees or cottonwood trees or the sage or the sweetgrass. In fact, my brother and sister-in-law, they're going to harvest sweetgrass this afternoon, and maybe do 50 braids. But we're lucky that we're in a climate that we can harvest sweetgrass every 3 months. So today I just want to tell how proud of I am, and also that all of you, Lakota out there, non-Lakota, I'm really grateful that you're able to sit and listen to our story, listen to their story, and to help them, and to encourage them, because for once we have a voice that's coming from the reservation, a voice that's helping people, not just on the reservation, but all over the world. And so that word "Midakyo Asi" is in effect. You just can't say that after a prayer, thinking that that's what it means. Midakyo Asi is symbolic of we are all connected, we're all related, and so forth. That we all have to, may not see eye to eye, but at least we can see what we're doing and what you're doing. And my mother used to say, everybody has a nose, eyes, and ears, and mouth. I said they could use it. They can think for themselves. You don't have to think for them, and you don't have to do that for us. So that's how we honor each other. He said, we all need to support each other that way. So we need spiritual people helping each other. So that's the way I see it. So I want to say thank you for your time. I wanted to say, sing the one little song and say thank you for listening. And this is a song that says that anything that we do it right. And so today, I hope that we can do things right so that whatever that we ask for and whatever that we are saying will come true. Ja pilama. Kola chele choye, kola le chele choye yo hai, kola le chele choye, tako ya chenke he chetu telo. Ayo Chano Pakele Yahoye Waelo Metako Yo Wani watching Elohai Kolaya Lechele Choye Tako ya chenke aye chetuk telo aye.
Wopila Chie, thank you very much. I really appreciate your prayer and your story and the good words that you gave the people. And I'm really honored to have you as my Chie, my brother, and my teacher. And I'm really inspired to hear the words today from what my brother shares. When I was a young boy, I met my Chie Warfield at school. He was my Lakota studies teacher. And I always had yearning to know more about myself, my culture, especially through the songs. And I grew up in a family where we didn't speak our language or we didn't do our ceremonies because of the boarding school or, we were kind of assimilated into the Catholic Church and our ways. And from a young age, though, I would hear these songs and I would dream about certain things in Lakota life. And so one day when I was a fifth grader, when Warfield changed Lakota studies from fun hour or nature walks into actual learning who we are as a people, I took to it right away. And ever since then, it was my life's purpose. He always talks about have purpose in your life so that whatever you do, it will be good for your grandchildren and your children on down the line. And so early on, I was very fortunate to be blessed with these great teachers, such as Warfield Moose Sr. He started Native Botanicals without, but long before Native Botanicals was a name. Whenever I was young, I saw a medicine kit that my brother showed me that his father made way back, and it was of all these medicines and herbs, their names, their Lakota names, their uses, and samples, and it was amazing. And the thing about it is, I remember as we opened the container, the cedar box, the smell of all the beautiful scent of all the medicines that were still potent, 30, 40 years later. And this was the very beginning of my journey into the medicine plant world. And so he was a major inspiration in my life. And also our relative here, Charlie the Tendry from the Alexis Nakota Sioux tribe in Canada. We made relatives with him many years ago, and he's very knowledgeable and reminded me of Warfield Sr. You know, after he passed away, there was a void in our lives, and he stepped in, and people like him and or like she, Albert Whitehat, there and all these relatives that came in and helped us along our way. And today, I'm very proud because I feel like we are doing the right thing and sharing these medicines and sharing this knowledge because the reason that these elders, these grandmothers and these grandfathers um, chose to document and archive these was because they saw into the future that one day their children are going to need a medicine or they're going to need an identity or a way of life. So we are very proud to continue this work. And it's my hope that we can do a good enough job that it's here for another 3-4 generations like it was before I came along. So again, I want to say opila to my brother for sharing his talk today. And at this time, I want to send it over to Shawna to tell a little bit about her background and how she's the heart and soul of Native Botanicals, and it's really her passion and her vision that and her hard work that brings us all together.
Okay, thank you again to the Great Plains Tribal Leadership, and thank you to my brother-in-law Warfield. Thank you for always sharing and supporting us, and I really appreciate all the work you're doing. Myself, I've always had a love for plants and a connection to plants ever since I was a little girl. I was always mixing things together and making potions, I guess you could call them. I knew that they had some kind of power. The plants were powerful. And, you know, the more I learn, the more I believe that, and I know that they really are powerful. And my parents grew up growing medicines and food, so I was lucky to grow up in that way. And, you know, when medicines have helped me a lot in my life, you know, they've seen me through some difficult times, not only with my physical health, but with my mental health. And, you know, in fact, I just took some Angelica root earlier today. It really helps my mind to stay focused and to feel calm. And that's really important when you have twins running around. And, you know, when our kids were born, I think we really started to think more about the future and more about, you know, what we wanted to do for them. And it really makes me happy because when we go out and they say, oh, well, that's sage or that's yucca, and they can say those things and tell us, you know, it makes me feel good and it gives me hope. And you know, that's why I'm here. And, you know, this is what I love to do. And this is what I want to do for my family and for our relatives. So happy to share this with you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shawna. And like she said, you know, we have two twin boys that are just turned 4 not too long ago, and they're quite a handful. And but they set us on a path. Was the kind of the ultimate deciding factor for us to start our business and do this because we've been doing Native Botanicals, you know, since we were children, since I was a child, sharing medicines and harvesting them and learning about them. And when I was a teenager, my mother was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer, and it was really scary. And she was in late stage, and they didn't give her a good prognosis. It was really bleak and dim, like sometimes you hear in the doctor's office. And I approached my brother Warfield to do healing ceremonies for her, and so he did. And we went through the proper protocols, and he used medicines, and through his ways, not very long after, not even within a year, the pancreatic cancer was gone. And they say that it's like a miracle because that hardly ever happens. And so that was one of the major points in my life that said, um, this medicine's important, but now I've seen how it actually impacts your life, and I've seen how powerful it was. And another turning point in my life was in 2009. I was making a sweat lodge in the woods, and I got bit by a tick, and I contracted Lyme disease, and I was really sick. And I went to my brother, and he said, "You have Lyme disease, and you need to get some medicine and go into the doctor." So I never heard of it, but I went in, and sure enough, they did tests, and they said that I did have Lyme disease. I had some bullseye rashes, and I got very ill. And I went through 5 different antibiotics within a year, and I just kept getting worse and worse. And after about 6 months of antibiotics, I asked for a ceremony myself, and for healing, and for to go back to my own medicine. It was always there, but being kind of the person I am, I always put it on the back burner. But then I got sick enough where I had to really take care of myself. And so again, the medicines saved my life, and brought me back to my former self, because I was really sick there for a whole year and a half. And through these healing ceremonies and these herbs, I was able to get back to health. And I credit the not just our Lakota way of life, but with the Western medicine as well. My brother said, which made sense to me. He said, take advantage of both healthcare systems, basically. So the Western, and then and our way of life, and it worked out that way, that I got well. So I just kind of wanted to share that too. I feel like it's a very important story of ours to tell. And this medicine wheel that you see here, we kind of came up with this as our philosophy of what we do in our life, the Native Botanical way. So our big thing here is that the medicine wheel represents all aspects of life, and as a whole, it represents the oneness with all creation. Of course, you see the 4 colors that represent the 4 directions, and 4 is a sacred number in our way of life. And when I see this wheel, how it goes around and comes around, I think it is the representation, the visual representation of Medakriase. We're all related, or all my relatives, because there's not at one point where it stops. It keeps going and going, just like our grandparents and our parents and us, and now our children, and one day our grandchildren. These ways will keep going and stay alive. And so what we talked about is the growing of the medicine, and harvesting it, and then the showing the respect of the harvest, whether it's putting tobacco down, or praying with our pipe, our chanupa, before we go harvest, or showing the proper ways of picking the medicines, and not over picking in one spot, and making sure that you leave some there for it to continue to grow. And once we collect them, then the healing begins. And like my brother said, we feel like the plants are a relative to us, because going back to Medakriase, not only are we related to all men and women, and all the animal nations, but the elk and the buffalo, and the winged and the 2-legged and the 4-legged, but we also consider the plants our relatives, because they were here first before any of us. For example, the dandelion medicine. I just learned a fun fact on watching Dana with my boys the other day. They said that the dandelion is old as the dinosaurs. It's been here for that long, so I didn't know that. So I even learned something watching that. So we make use of the dandelion in our way of life, and there's one of the most powerful plants, and maybe that's why it is so powerful, because it lasted this long. And hopefully, maybe if we use that medicine, our people will last that long, And so, and then we go back to replanting, the sustainability. That's very important to us, because we want to be a voice for the plants, the medicines. We have people out there who are doing good work representing the land and the water and the trees. But our focus is on the prejuta, the plants themselves, and making sure that they survive, and that they'll be there for future generations. And what else too I wanted to say was that we just are always trying to continue to grow through our business this way. And it's very important, like with our business, we a certain percentage of our profits go back to the replanting effort. And really, we're actually a planting company. That's what our main goal is, to educate and to ensure that these plants will live on. So I want to turn it over to Shawna, and she's going to talk a little bit about the modern aspect of our company.
Thanks. So traditionally, medicines are used in different ways. Can be made into teas, or it can be burned, or even the leaves, fresh leaves or dried leaves, you can put them on your body in different ways. But sometimes it's not always easy to find the medicines that you need at that time, or they grow in different places. Maybe they didn't grow where they grew last year, and things start changing because of the climate or the world where things grow. And so, it's not always easy to find the medicines you need. So we started making tinctures for our family members, for our parents, and we found it was a really good way for them to have access to these medicines, whenever they needed them, or year round, and it was easy for them. And that kind of goes back to the idea of just wanting to give people the chance to have a relationship with these plants and with these medicines. And it made me happy because we get messages from people, and this elderly gentleman, he wrote to us and said, I used to go out and pick OSHA every year. I used to go out and harvest my own, but I'm getting older now, so it's difficult. It's difficult for me to go out there and do that. So I'm so happy that, I found this way to take the medicine so I can still take it. And, we have other people tell us, that they've tried other things, and these medicines have really helped them with their pain or whatever it is that they need help with. So that's really, it's really encouraging. If you're new to tinctures, tinctures are like, they're herbal extracts, they're supplements, they're in liquid, used like a solvent to basically pull out the medicinal properties of the root or the leaf or the berry or whatever medicine you're using. And most commonly alcohol is used to extract those medicines. When we started, we decided, we weren't going to use alcohol because we avoid alcohol. We believe that alcohol can really negatively affect the spirit of whatever it comes in contact with, and that includes the plants. So we use something called vegetable glycerin, and it's a really gentle alternative. It's really effective, but it's gentle. And because we don't use alcohol too, it makes the tinctures safer for children. When our children were born, they had colic, and they had reflux, and I really didn't feel good about giving them prescription medicine. So I used to make them sweet leaf tea or wild bergamot tea. And, I'd give them a little bit and it really helped them. And when we started making tinctures, that was a better way to do it, to give it to them. And because it's made with glycerin is really sweet. It tastes sweet. So the children really like taking it. It's become their kind of their go-to, their tummy medicine, they call it. So, it was good because, I felt good about what I could give our boys, and it made me want to share that with other moms and other people, so we could feel good about the medicines that we're giving to our children.
And kind of back to what Shawna's saying here about the tinctures, just to go back to the point about it's very accessible to put the medicine into this tincture form. We've had so much good response, so many good reviews, and we get emails all the time about how people really love the fact that they can put the sweet leaf or the wakbela stamina or pejikota or the matro pejuta. They could take it with them on the journey. They could take it in their purse, or they could take it in the winter time when the fresh herbs aren't available, and it's always there. And we kind of renamed it as our traditional supplements, because I think I really believe that as Lakota people, our DNA is different. So we have the foods that affect us, the white flour and the processed foods. Sometimes our body doesn't agree with them and they make us sick. And so I think the same goes with the medicines. I find that when I start taking all these herbs and these teas and into tincture form or into salve form, I don't know, it just kind of made me feel good. Even mentally, I felt like more connected to my culture, my way of life. So not just with the language and the songs and the everyday thing, but now with the medicines this way, it kind of completes it all for me. And we hear good reviews about that sort of thing. And kind of going back to what my Shia Warfield was saying, that a long time ago we had different ways of taking medicines, but maybe those were lost along the way, and maybe they weren't shared with everyone. So there's so many ways to do it other than just a tea. If you look at the berries, choke cherry, they were made into patties to be available during the winter time, or the buffalo that was made into bapa, dried meat, to be available during the winter time, or team sila, or those sort of things. And so we feel that this tincture process and this salve process and the essential oil sprays, the liquid smudges, are another newer version of what we've already been doing for thousands of years. So go on to the next slide here. Shauna's going to talk a little bit about Team Sila and choke cherries, and she has a little bit of something to read that was actually a part of Warfield Moose Senior's original medicine teachings from way back.
Yeah, so, like many medicines and stories that are foods, there's stories that go with them that tell where they came from. And Jimsila is a prairie turnip. That's good food. In the winter months, you can dry them and hang them, and you can use them later. And we do have a story we'll share with you that tells the story of the Tinctures. It says, one day, two warriors were on a mission to look for food for their clan, and it was a very hard time for the Lakota people, as they began to use up the remaining food from a very hard winter and nothing left to eat. The two warriors were not able to find anything, and they were about to give up when one of the warriors prayed They asked Tunkashila to help them find something to help his people. All of a sudden, they heard a voice by the hillside and they listened. The voice was singing, and the words to the song was, "Come and listen, and I will give you a source of food and strength. Come, and I will show you how to dig me and find the source." And when the warriors approached the hill, they saw a hand coming out of the earth and waving and singing. And when they walked up to the hand, it turned into a beautiful young woman. And all around her was the Tinctures plants. She told them to look at the plant and see that it has 5 leaves, like fingers, and a head, like the bulb, sticking out of its body, which is the stem, and that one of the fingers is pointing in a certain direction. She said that every part of the plant must be used. The main body is the main food, and then they should braid the plants, and after the food is used up, the braid is to be used as incense. The top part of the plant is to be replanted so that the following year it will grow back again. And then one of the fingers pointing towards, one of the leaves is pointing towards a direction, is pointing towards a sister or brother plant. So they don't have to look very far for another one. So that was kind of a cool story to share about where Tinctures came from. And then choke cherries.
Yeah, so thank you. What I really love about that story is it kind of puts it into common man form, you know, that we can identify with these plants, and that way they're more of a family or a relative, you know, just like my brother talks about a Tunkashila, you know, um, Tun is the birth and Ga is really old, and she is the relative, and La is a term of endearment. And so we see Creator as a relative, and I feel like stories like this it just brings that much more connection to these plants, that we should respect them just as we respect other people, so that uh, it is our duty as well to take care of them. And the other one you see here, the champa, is the choke cherries. You know, they call that the food of life. Um, you know, every year people go out and they get their 5-gallon bucket and they pick the choke cherries to make basna or ojapi or these sort of things. It's one of the main common medicines that we use today. And you know, going back to the food and to this webinar series, you know, I think in our way of life, there's really no difference between the food and the medicine, because we consider all the medicine, even the water, you know. And thinking about it that way, the choke cherry, they call it the food of life because they use it in the ceremonies. I remember when I was 19 years old, my brother-in-law passed away, and our family had a really difficult time. And they were filled at the Sundance. They did a wiping of the tears ceremony for us, and they had us. They prayed for us, and they smudged us off with the medicines, and then we smoked the chanupa, but they also gave us water to replenish our tears that we had lost, and then they gave us cherry juice because it's the representation of the spirit, feeding the spirit, so that you know, we'll come back to bring our spirit back. And we always put the choke cherry juice out as an offering to our ancestors, to show that we still remember them and that they are still with us. And so that's kind of a little bit about the choke cherry and the Tinctures there. You want to talk a little bit about yucca?
Yeah, so we learned that, you know, there's different times of the day and different times of the year where you're supposed to harvest medicines, different medicines. For example, yucca is a plant that we learned, you know, should be harvested in the evening time. And you do that because that's when that plant is resting. If you pick it during the day, then it'll kill the plant instantly. So you have to wait till that plant is resting to go and harvest it. And you know, yucca is really an amazing medicine. It's called soapweed because the root lathers up and it can be used for soap, shampoo. It's good for your hair and good for your skin. You know, it can be taken internally. It's really good for arthritis and inflammation. You know, and even parts of the plant can be used to make into rope or baskets or things like that. So it's a really versatile medicine. You know, and Shiloh has a story about yucca and how it really helped our niece, Kansas, at one point that I'll let him share.
Sure. I have a niece, Kansas Clifford. At one point, when she was a little girl, she started losing her hair in big clumps, and it was really sad because she had really pretty long hair, and we didn't know what was going on with her. Her parents couldn't figure it out, and anyway, so again, we took her to the healing ceremony with my brother Warfield, and they went through the ceremonies, and he told her to go after this yucca, this root, and to chop it up and to boil it and drink it, but also to wash your hair with it and make it up into a powder and make it up into basically like a shampoo. And they did that. They gave it to her for a few weeks there, and I remember my mom, she was administering the medicine at the time, and within like not even a month, all her hair came back, and it was really sad because she had to fix her hair a certain way because there was bald spots on one side, and now if you look at her hair is so thick, and it's so long, and so that's I've seen these things happen for my loved ones and for others over the years that really instill that much more faith and belief in our own way of life. And you know, these plants are there. These plants that the one that Sean is holding there is probably only a few, maybe a few 50 yards from my house. I grew up and they're all over the place in the Badlands, and it's kind of one of our main, as Native Botanicals, one of our main ingredients in our medicines that we use in our products. You know, for the skin and for the hair, and it's we get really good reviews from it, from the not just from the growing your hair long and thick, but and not keeping your skin young and beautiful, but also it's a really powerful anti-inflammatory. So I take the Pupestola tincture for myself for my inflammation, because every now and then I'll get inflammation in my body, and as soon as I take it, it knocks it out right away. So that's kind of what we wanted to share about, a little bit about that, and we'll move on to Matko Pejuta, Beirut. Everyone that I know knows this medicine. It's a well-known, most popular one. People really try to get their hands on it, and I think it's because it is a powerful medicine. You know, we the bears, the Matko, was the one who showed us the medicine, and every year after the bears, they hibernate, and when they wake up, immediately they go and dig up the roots, and they eat them, and it helps them to come back to life, essentially, I think. And a long time ago, they you know, there was a spiritual connection there. A lot of the medicine men, either had dreams, or they my brother Warfield tells a really good story about the bears that maybe at one point we'll get to, but in short here, it's a very powerful medicine that helps us to heal. In COVID times, the Beirut that we did have, the tinctures, and we sent it around as much as we could to the elders, so to help them with COVID, or just in case, and we sent a lot of these other medicines around. What we tried to do our part as much as we could. And that's a picture of myself there, in an undisclosed secret location. No, it's in the mountains there in southern Colorado. And that's one of my favorite things to do, is to go up into the mountains and pick medicine. And it's a journey. We look forward to that every year, and we look forward to harvesting all these other medicines every year. So I want to talk about the replanting.
Sure. Well, like Shilo said, we use, when we opened up our business, we decided that, we were going to dedicate a portion of whatever we made to replanting. And that's important to us because, the plants are our relatives, and, they take care of us. So we want to do our part, what we can to give back. Give back because, giving back is a part of healing, and giving back helps the future. We want to think about our children, and we want these medicines to be here for them. So, some of the things that we're replanting are cottonwood trees, which used to be really abundant. And they're kind of becoming less because they're used in the summertime for ceremonies. And, these are cedar trees that you see here in this picture. That have been replanted. And we're also, focused on replanting sage. Maybe you can go out and pick sage. Now there's sage to go pick, but, if everybody thinks that way and goes and picks it, there's not going to be any. So, in our way of thinking, we want to be prepared. Be prepared, and by being prepared, maybe we can prevent future sicknesses, or help our children to be well. And these cottonwood trees, I'll let Shilo tell you about
Sure.
where they came from.
Yeah, the ones you see in the picture here have been planted by Norma Moose, and she had a wonderful idea that she did. Every year during the Sundance, we use the cottonwood for our tree, and at one point, I can't remember when, but years back, maybe 15 years ago, when the tree would fall before we put it up, there would be branches that would break here and there, and she would go collect them, and she would put them in the water bucket, and pretty soon they start growing roots, and then she would go plant them at the Sundance grounds, and she taught us that. And the cottonwood trees you see growing here, there's a number of them. There's a lot of them now. And each one of those cottonwood trees come from a Sundance tree that, a previous year back. So there's a history there. So all these cottonwood trees, they're all relatives, and it's like, it literally is a family tree. It's kind of cool. And also these cedar trees there, the Jante, she planted those, and she showed us all that stuff. And ever since then, we learned that, and we've been doing that every year as one of our initiatives.
Sweetgrass too.
And the sweetgrass as well, with our sweetgrass beds and that sort of thing. To talk about this one.
Sure. Before we have to go, just wanted to acknowledge, again, that, our connectedness to everything, and how everything, every living thing on this earth has a purpose. And, just to remember that, and the importance, how important it is for all of us to live in harmony with everything. Without the bees or butterflies, there would be no medicines. So, we always want to keep in mind that we want to take care of them too, or acknowledge them in that way. So I think we're out of time.
Yeah, I think we want to say Wopila to the webinar series here, and to Great Plains Tribal Leaders Health Board. We really appreciate what you're doing for the people. This is an important step to gaining our health back. The thing that people are talking about now is bringing the land back, and what we really stress is bringing our health back, and our medicines back, and our way of life because if we get healthy as a nation, as a people, I think we can do a lot of good things. And again, I want to say, Wopila, thank you to Chair Warfield Moose for speaking on our behalf today and for putting us on this path and showing us this way of life so that we may teach our children and our grandchildren in the future. And come to our website and you can read more there and find out more about what we're doing and our initiatives. And follow us on Facebook or Instagram. And we appreciate your time and we thank you all for joining us today.
Thank you so much, Shawna and Shilo. That was a wonderful presentation. We were just so thankful for you to be here and giving this to us. We're thankful for Warfield and his participation. It's fantastic. We absolutely love everything that you guys do. The holistic nature in which you go about everything that you do, it's just very touching. Everything is connected and we support that 100%. And the stuff, actually, we love it because I've got some right here. I use it on knots in my back because everybody works from home. So we're all working from computers. I get tight on my upper back and shoulders. I love this stuff.
Right.
And so, we just couldn't say more about the great things that you guys are doing for the communities and just knowledge sharing in general. So thank you very much for that. And of course, they have the website on there. We've got the website also in the chat. Please contact them, get in touch with them, share them. We want to support more businesses and people just like them. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask. At any time, you can send them emails. You can send us emails. We'll relay information back and forth. We'll also send a post webinar email to everybody that joined. Again, thank you all for coming. We have a post webinar survey. You can take that if you like. We'd appreciate it. But we just wish you all the very best, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Shannon. Thank you for your time today, and we're grateful to be here. Have a great evening.
We'll be there. That was really fun.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Thank you again. We appreciate it.
Yeah.
Appreciate the
Yeah,
opportunity.
from the bottom of our heart, we're really grateful that you gave us this opportunity and this chance to share our vision and what we've been doing. As far as the business aspect, we've really only been open since January of 2020. And so it's happening very quickly and very fast, and we've been getting good reviews and